An eagle flying away with its prey. A lizard sunning itself on a rock, and a fish jumping out of the water. Hard to believe, but these works of art are edible cakes. The US-based Crazy Cakes company specializes in crazy cake art. In Austin, the capital of Texas, we go in search of the crazy cake baker. Brian Stevens is the man behind the unusual cakes, along with his wife Jennifer and pastry chef Kyla. Brian tells us straight away what he is working on today.
We have this thing called the Texas horn-toad lizard, and it's really kind of creepy to me, but it makes a really cool cake.
Let's start with a rock for the lizard.
You're gonna make this big rock portion that is the cake. Our horn toad to actually just be perching on top of that rock. And so this whole portion right here will be all cake.
First, Brian makes a realistic rock out of cake. He draws a rough outline for it.
Now we kind of know that this is basically gonna be our shape. We'll be able to stack the cake on top of that.
Brian cuts out the rock shape from polystyrene. For the lizard, he uses templates from the internet.
We want to be able to see what the top of the head looks like, what the side of the head looks like, what these spikes kind of look like. All this is really important, and to have it from different angles really helps us visualize it in 3D.
By the way, unlike pastry chef Kyla, Brian is not a trained professional baker. A few years ago, he hadn't a clue about cakes until his son's second birthday.
His second birthday, a friend of mine made him a Batman cake. And she's a really good artist, and she made this really cool cake, and I'm sitting there looking at it, I was like, you know what, I can do that. And so I made him this sculpted SpongeBob SquarePants cake, and he loved that.
SpongeBob was Brian's first crazy cake 4 years ago. He now makes 4 to 5 crazy cakes a week. The basis is a very specific type of cake.
This is a devil's food cake. It's pretty much our basic chocolate cake. It has a medium level of of richness to it. It's a pretty standard type of flavor for Americans. It's pretty popular, so.
Brian bakes the cake layers 2 days in advance. That way, they have the ideal texture for modeling. He uses a chocolate buttercream mixture to bind the layers together so that they don't break apart when he cuts them into shape.
Cut very carefully. You just kind of have to see it in your mind and, just kind of work it around and reveal that shape.
The stacked cake layers are coated and fixed in place with warm ganache, a mixture of chocolate icing and butter. When cooled, the ganache holds the mound of cake together like glue. One cake takes Brian around 12 hours, including its resting time in the fridge. In order to shape the cake well, each crazy cake consists of several layers. Brian and his team's biggest secret is fondant. The soft sugar paste is rolled out as thinly as possible and pressed by a machine. This covers the entire chocolate cake and enables it to be modeled.
Enough of the real sharp angles against the real soft angles. So you need a combination of both to kind of make it work. You find yourself in a lot of strange positions when you're working on a cake.
Using finest wire mesh, Brian prepares the skin of the lizard. Now it's time for the many details.
Breaking it down into simple steps. Because sometimes you look at it, it just looks so complex. But if you break it down into really simple steps, you can achieve those steps a lot easier.
Brian's main job is designing and animating action heroes in computer games. Crazy cakes are his passion. To model them, Brian stands in his bakery until late at night every day, even after his full-time job.
A lot of how I visualize texture and like the way, when I go to paint it, the way I layer up colors, it's exactly how I do it when I develop digital art for the gaming industry.
Through his profession, Brian has good spatial awareness. Combined with his haptic talent, it is easy for him to create realistic figures.
because he has this kind of like crease on his eye. He's a real interesting dude.
Using his templates, Brian models the lizard's head in as much detail as possible. He uses tools that dentists and nail designers normally use. Brian is an absolute perfectionist.
When we start with these cakes, the stages are in the very beginning, Brian's starting to put together, and he's like, you know, I don't really like this cake so much. Somewhere along the middle, about this time, and we're looking at the cake, and he's like, you know, this cake's okay. And towards the end of the cake, when it's all done, he's like, this cake is awesome.
So now we need to put some texture on it. And that's honestly about as simple as it can get.
He uses a ballpoint pen refill.
Nice wart right on the eye, you know, because he gets these warts all over him. He's a pretty grotesque looking guy.
To make the lizard look lifelike, it must have its typical spikes. An endless task for which Brian needs the help of Kyla and Jennifer. The many fine, mostly small details are either made of fondant or stuck on with a mixture of egg white and sugar. Brian sticks the lizard's head to the rest of the body with a thin wooden rod, and using nailed scissors, he gives the legs their spiky texture.
Now we get to do the really cool part, is kind of put on the legs and then we can paint the whole thing. So I'm gonna be really excited, this is cool.
Brian first gives the rock distinctive shadows and bumps by airbrushing them with various food colorings. To make both the rock and the lizard look real, Brian has his own airbrushing system.
Even though I went in with the darkest color first because I needed to do underneath, I want to go in with one of the lighter colors on top so that I can work my way down to that dark color again.
With precision and a constant pressure, Brian breathes life into the lizard step by step. Details are added with a very thin brush. A few highlights at the end and the job's done.
I think we're good.
The bigger and more detailed a cake is, the higher the price. The lizard costs around $400. Normally, all crazy cakes are unique.
To me, it's just not that interesting doing the same thing over and over again. Even though you get quicker, it's just not as artistically challenging.
90% of their customers live in Texas, so the three of them deliver most of the cakes personally.
The first cake I ever did for somebody who wasn't from my family, I made this kid's birthday cake, and now he's turning 7 or 8?
7, he's a year younger.
Yeah, he's turning 7 today, so we're making him another cake. We're gonna take it to him, see if he likes it. Hopefully he will. He loved the last one.
Hey!
Especially for Brian, the reactions of his customers are important. The party guests are thrilled. The children can hardly believe their eyes, especially birthday boy Even.
When they're this happy, you made a good cake. You know that, right?
And Brian is not sad about seeing his work of art destroyed.
Hey guys, how does it taste? You guys like it? Yes. Yeah?
Whenever possible, Brian likes to try his cakes himself.
I like it. Looks as good. It tastes as good as it looks, so that's good.
All the work gobbled up in 10 minutes.